On February 20th, 2003, Patrolman Jeremy Carruth and Patrolman First Class David Ezernack, members of the Alexandria Police Department Special Response Team in Louisiana, attempted to arrest a wanted suspect for ambushing an officer the day prior. During the attempt, the suspect opened fire, fatally wounding Officers Carruth and Ezernack, and wounding 3 other officers. For many of us, we can only imagine the pain of losing a loved one in the line of duty. But for one mother, 2 decades later, she is determined more than ever to honor their memories. Today we're joined by Pat Carruth, surviving mother of Officer Jeremy J. Carruth. After having her life flipped upside down, in her role as National President of Concerns of Police Survivors, Miss Pat has made it her mission to help other surviving families march on. I am Patrick Yoes, National President of Fraternal Order Police. This is the Blue View. Pat, thanks for joining us on the Blue View. You and I have a history that goes back a couple of decades. Yeah. Very, very dear friends, but our viewers and our listeners may not know who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
For those of you who don't know who I am, that I am the National President for Concerns of Police Survivors. I am married to a most incredible man, Charles Carruth. We have 4 children. One resides in heaven, and we will see him again one day. 3 daughters, Amy, Carrie, and Stacy. We have 16 grandchildren, 30 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren.
Jeez, that's
we have a gang.
No doubt. So, Pat, life stories, and you've got one of them that's it's filled with tragedy, but also turn it into some inspiration as well. So why don't we just go back 20 years ago, and let's just talk about that day that forever changed your life.
Yep, 20 years ago, February the 20th, 2003. That it was a pretty normal day for me, waking up that morning, that got my daughter off to her class, and I'm just hanging out home drinking coffee, and I get a call from my son that they're waiting for a warrant, that for the judge to sign a warrant, and he decided to call. I'm so thankful for that call. That we talked for a little while, and their warrant came in, and their SWAT team was getting ready to go out to serve this warrant. He said, "Okay, Mom, my warrant's here. I'll see you at lunch." We were going to lunch that day. "I'll see you at lunch, and I love you." And I was able to tell him, "I love you. I'll see you at lunch. I'll be praying for you guys." That's the last time I heard his voice. That a couple of hours later, a friend called me and said they had heard some gunshots over in the neighborhood and asked if Jay was working. I said, "Yeah, he's working today." He was off for 2 weeks because he was getting ready to be activated with the National Guard again. And we had spent that whole 2 weeks shopping and doing things, lunch, all kinds of things. It was a gift. And we were able to do a lot of stuff. And he went in for that call, for the SWAT call. He went in. That I wouldn't expect him not to go in. That's what he was all about. He loved what he did. I understand why he took the call. But that after a little while of waiting, thinking maybe that call was going to come for lunch, I heard news that an officer was shot and was on his way to the hospital. I didn't own that incident because I knew it wasn't mine, and I was moving on. I got in my car and I drove into town. I was going over to Jay's house because we were going to lunch. And as I got closer to his house, he was about 6 blocks from where this incident was. The streets were blocked off, so I turned and went on to the house, and as I got out of the car at his house, I could hear the gunshots. Man. That what I didn't know then was that was the suppression shots that they were using to try to get the officer off the ground. And that I didn't know that, but it makes sense to me now. Yeah. That I hung out there at the house for a little while and decided to call the department and see, because I knew an officer had been shot. I decided I'd call to see if I could help in any way. And when I called the lady, I knew the academy number, I called there, and she started crying when I told her who I was. And I was like, okay. And she says, I'm going to transfer you to the chief's office. So the chief's secretary answered, and I told her who I was. And I was calling to see if I could help. And she started crying. And I understand it was a pretty emotional day. It was really a tough day. And she transferred me to the chief. And the chief said that I needed to stay right where I was. They were going to send a car. And I had never been through anything like that before. I had no idea why they were sending a car other than to get us all together so we could be together while all this was going on. Yeah. So I waited for the car. Yeah. And Sergeant June Murdoch showed up. And she took us inside. The shooting was still going on. And she took us inside. Of course, my daughter turned on the TV, and there were video clips playing on TV of them training. It wasn't live. And June was standing in front of the TV to keep us from watching. And then she got a phone call. And she went out of the room, took her call, and she came back. And I'm like, do you have any news? What's going on? And she said, we're going to go to the hospital. I still didn't own it. It wasn't mine, you know. And we left to go to the hospital. We're driving over there, and something hit me. I was just like, oh, goodness, this is not good. You know, it just like had a moment to think about it. Yeah. We get to the hospital, and there's so many people there. And up on a ledge at the back of the hospital was one of our very good friends, one of the state troopers, and one of Jay's best friends from school, and he was a police officer too. And as I was getting out of the car, I turned my head and I looked toward them, and the trooper's head went down. And I was like, okay, something's not good here. And all these people crowded around me, hyperventilated, passed out. They thought I was having a heart attack. That took me in, checked me out, hung out there for a little while, them waiting for me to get to a place where they could come in and tell me what they needed to tell me. I still didn't know anything. And eventually my daughter came in and told me that Jay did not make it.
Yeah. It's such a tragic day, you know, being a Louisiana law enforcement officer at that same time. I remember that day. I remember it very well. Yeah. I was, several hours away, but just a large law enforcement family. We all felt it.
Yes.
So I know that, Jay wasn't alone. David Ezernack was with him as well.
Yes.
And there's several other officers were shot, but both Jay and David didn't make it. It's I can only imagine, the emotions that one would go through. Not only family, but a community. Everybody was hurting during that time. Talk about the days after that. How did you cope with it? Did the community rally behind you? It's kind of, how did it unfold over the next few days of support?
Yeah, the community was there for us. Alexandria Police Department, Rapides Parish Sheriff Department, Pineville Police Department, they were all there for us. But you'd be happy to know, and you know this, that the FOP was there for us also. There were several members of the Fraternal Order of Police that really took care of us, our whole family. And from, eating lunch with them, I didn't want to eat lunch. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to even go out of the house, but they said if I didn't go out with them, they were going to come in and get me. And I'm like, okay, these guys know how to go in a house and get somebody. I better go with them, Yeah. So they really made sure that I took care of myself. And I'm thankful for that today. Yeah. And I encourage other people to take care of themselves now because of what these guys did for me. Yeah. They were incredible. They really were.
So Jeremy was National Guard. He was law enforcement. He obviously had a servant's heart. Tell us a little bit about Jeremy.
That from a kid, Jay was a servant. I thought he was going to be a preacher. I really did. His grandfather was. And who knew, preacher, policeman, whatever, it's all good. But through school, he is just a great kid. So many friends, hanging out with all his friends. He was that kid that you could say, hey, I love you, getting out of the car. And he'd turn around and say, I love you too, Mom. He was just that kid that always was happy to have his parents around, no matter what the group was. He was just special in that way.
Yeah.
That he lived life really fast, and I guess he had to die at 29 years old. That he really had a full life. Had the opportunity to go in the National Guard, and he won some awards for fitness, and he was an incredible runner. He was fast. He still holds the award at Fort Leonard Wood that no one's beat his time yet. Yeah. And was married and had two beautiful little girls, Margot and Noelle. And it was a great life. I think he had a great life, a really good life.
Pat, you were quoted as saying that it's like Jay's dying taught you how to live.
He did.
What did you mean by that?
That he lived life to the fullest, and no matter what, he was that person that would come over and say, "Hey, Mom, you want to do this?" And if I were to say, "No, I don't want to do that right now," he's like, "Mom, you're going to sit on the porch. You're going to get out here and do this." And, it didn't matter if it was a game. It didn't matter if it was an event, if it was someplace that we just needed to go talk to somebody, or he needed some support for something. It was always, he was moving and shaking all the time, doing something, helping somebody. And I realized later that, I had really pretty much taught him that. And if you've lived long enough, and I have, that I realize we teach our children things, and then they turn around and they play it on us, and he would do that. You forget. You taught them. Well, I taught him that, and turn around and they use it on you when you get older. And it's pretty cool the way that happens. Yeah. Grandchildren do it too.
Well, I mean, obviously you had you talk about a servant heart. Well, I know where you got it from. And all we have to do is just look at you and just what you do. Inspiration to so many people. You took this tragedy and turned it into a strength, and have helped so many people just cope. Just blue family and personal family of those who've lost loved ones. Yeah. Talk about that. Just that inspiration. What this purpose that you have, and how does it make you feel to fill this role and help others find light in the darkness?
I really didn't know if I was going to be able to move through losing Jay. I really didn't. I didn't know if I could pull myself out of that, and I kept having to remind myself that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I had to remind myself over and over. I actually had to choose the joy of the Lord is my strength. And because if I didn't, I was going to have sadness and depression, and I was not going to get anywhere that way. And I think just self-talk, doing that, and then connecting with the people that were in my pathway, some of the incredible people from COPS that showed up at my door, and would sit and talk. And, we had to call each other on the phone. We didn't have social media. Then you actually had to dial a number and talk.
You actually had to talk to people?
Yeah, you had to talk to people, You had to hear their voice.
Interesting concept.
Yeah, and it works really well. People should try that again. But these people were so good to me. And to get me to the places that I needed to be, talking to the counselors that I needed to talk to. I was having panic attacks. I was just having a really hard time. Even though I was taken care of, it's still things would just overcome you, and they'd overcome you at times that you weren't expecting it to. That I think self-talk, being around the people that I was around, the COPS organization especially, Parents Retreat, going to Parents Retreat, that did me a lot of good. Yeah,
talking with people who truly understand because they're fighting the same struggles.
They knew exactly where I was. They knew how I felt. Just their relationships were a little bit different, that we can all experience the same thing, but if our relationships are different, with your children, that some people spend more time than others, and that it worked for me. The programs work, that's for sure.
We're going to be here at Police Week again. 20 years since you were here, 19 years or so since you were here where Jay was honored. Take us back those 19 years. You came here to Police Week as a mother of a son who was killed in the line of duty, and talk about those emotions that you had coming and what comfort you found coming to Washington, being around others in the same situation, and the honor that was given to Jay.
Yeah. Because I went to Parents Retreat in the October before I went to Police Week, I had met a lot of the parents and had a pretty good network of people to talk to. And when I got to Police Week, of course, I had met Susie Sawyer and several other people, and I got to Police Week and they were at our hotel. Our planning for Police Week, we brought the SWAT team with us and their wives and the Ezernack family, our family. It was a pretty big crowd. I think there was like 40 of us on a plane, and I was like, God help someone who does something wrong on this plane.
I remember it well.
And that when we got there, I was so overtaken by getting off the plane and the honor guard outside the door. I was just like, I don't even want to go off this plane. It's like, this is too much already. What's the rest of the week going to be like? And got off the plane. They took care of us, got us down, got us to our hotel, and saw some people there that were pretty familiar and had some conversations, felt pretty relaxed about that. And we started our week of doing stuff with cops for National Police Week. Did the candlelight vigil, and it was really sad, Although it was so much honor, there was so much sadness too. And just looking around at how many people were experiencing what I was experiencing. And I was noticing the law enforcement officers, and, ours were tending so much to us, and they were right there the whole time, that it was just so many people. Yeah. But when we got to the memorial service, and, we were the guest of honors in the white chairs out front there. And we're about midways back. It was a really, really hot day. So hot that day. And it seemed like the ceremony went on forever. We were pouring water on our feet. We were putting water in the grass. The grass was really nice, putting our feet down the grass, trying to cool off. Had our umbrellas over us and everything. And, then it came time for us to go put our flower in the wreath. And Jay and Kim had divorced, and we were pretty much not talking to each other. It was a hard time, really hard time. And we're both sitting there on the grounds together. And it was a time where, she knew that Noelle needed to put this flower in the wreath for her daddy. And she hadn't talked to me in months, and she turned around and she looked at me at the back of that walkway at that memorial service, and she said, Miss Pat, if you want to walk with her, go walk with her. And I'm like, I just really want a picture of Noelle putting that flower in the wreath. And Noelle's like, I don't know if I can do that, by myself. And I'm like, you can do this. Come on, let's go. And we walked down, and Noelle stuck that flower in that wreath, and you would think that, she had won a marathon, that she turned around with this look on her face of, I did it, Yeah. And then we got to walk across over to this man standing there with some medals.
Who could that be?
That could be Mr. Pat Yoes.
I remember that day.
Yeah. And we're so honored that, how much time you took talking to us, that it was really, really special.
Yeah.
That noticing all the families out there, that was a lot of people.
Yeah.
And going back to our seats and sitting and waiting for that flyover and to wave our blue ribbon in the air, like I've done so many times since then, that I knew after that ceremony that this was way more than I had even expected. And I wanted to be a part of this in my future. I knew that.
Well, we're sure glad that I couldn't be more honored, more happy to see you as a national president. I've watched you over the years, the relationship you continue to have, even to this day, with the Alexandria Police Department, and just all of the officers. You host a luncheon with them every year. Just you truly, they call you Mama Pat for a reason. Yeah. You're part of a much larger blue family, and what an inspiration to so many people.
I'm really blessed is what I am, that, that these guys have really, to be by our side, our whole family side, for 20 years. Yeah. That not just our department, but others too. It's the brotherhood.
So, Pat, you've taken that tragedy and turned it into, as I mentioned, an inspiration, but it also has elevated you to the position of National President of COPS, Concerns for Police Survivors. So for our viewers and listeners who may not know what COPS is, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, Concerns of Police Survivors. That we're the families taking care of the families. That's our biggest mission, is taking care of the families, taking care of law enforcement, coworkers that have been through an experience just like the families have been through. That it's been an amazing time these last 2 years, being able to take care of the families and to be in the position of carrying this organization to its new home in Washington at the Washington Hilton. Yep. It's been an amazing 2 years of on the onset of suicide being a line of duty death. Yeah. That I am so honored to be a part of that particular thing. That it's been a part of my heart for a long time. That I'm honored that I'm the one who gets to help.
Yeah, well, you certainly make a difference. As the president of COPS, what are your duties?
That mostly taking care of people, working with this incredible young lady who is our CEO, named Diane Bernhard.
Absolutely.
That it is such an honor to work with her, that I'm supposed to be her boss, that she's incredible. She works so hard
she
for our organization.
Does. And I have the opportunity to work alongside of her, and could not be more impressed by her dedication and commitment to the mission of COPS.
She overdoes her. I mean, I don't know the words for Diane, to tell you the truth.
Servant's heart.
She is the biggest servant's heart that she is, and has to do everything over the top. Just, she's an amazing young woman. Woman. I was on the board when we hired her 9 years ago, and that it has really been a wonderful journey, watching Diane grow with this organization, and the incredible leader that she is. No doubt. I'm very impressed by just in a working relationship the Fraternal Order Police and COPS has never been better. I mean, we truly are united in making sure that the families, when somebody's lost in the service of others, we have a responsibility to make sure that they're and their families, their memories and their families are never forgotten. And I'm very proud of the work that we do together, hand in hand. With too. COPS. Yeah. I think it's been wonderful. Yeah. I think it's really been wonderful. There was a young man that was a big part of my life also, your dear friend, Tommy Tizard, that, Tommy Tizard was a part of my healing. That Tommy's just putting his hand on your shoulder, getting a hug from Tommy. Yeah. That he was a big part of my healing, Tommy Tizard.
Great guy. Mm-hmm. Great guy. We have a long history, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes,
so, Pat, if we have a family that's coming to Washington, in a couple of weeks for this memorial service, for these workshops, and just to bond together with others, what would you say? Help them understand what they're getting ready to walk into, and what, although they may, and I'm sure they do, have an apprehension of coming here just as you did.
Yep.
what they can expect and what they'll take home with them.
Well, I can say on that first day coming in, just take your time. Take your time. Enjoy your trip. That spend some time with your family. Once you get here, go have dinner. Have a good dinner. Enjoy your family, and get ready to do the things that we have prepared for you to do for the rest of the week. That do everything that we ask you to do. If you have a moment where you just need to get away, go sit, go take a walk. There's lots of places around the new hotel that you can walk. You can go get a cup of coffee, and then jump back in again. That it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And it's okay to take some time for yourself outside of what's going on in the hotel. It's okay for you to need someone to talk to. And we have plenty of people there for every family member to talk to.
And there's one thing you'll definitely take away. You're not alone.
That's it. You're not alone. And it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on that you need to eat, you need to drink, you need to rest, and spend time talking with people who get you, and they're going to be at this event. You're going to find the person who gets you is probably going to be your person for maybe the rest of your life, from the little children to the grandmas and grandpas, that you're going to find somebody that you connect with, and that's going to be in your grief journey forever.
You know, Pat, for more than 40 years, the Fraternal Order Police has held their memorial service, and this is part of a series. This podcast is part of a series of all of the moving parts of what makes up Police Week in the honor of our fallen. And it's a small army that makes it happen. As we break it down and look at all the different aspects of what it takes to make this the meaningful event it is, and I thank you for sharing your story with us. As well. If someone wants to know more about cops, how would they go about getting that information?
Check out our website, nationalcops.org. There's lots of information on there. And as a survivor, if you're needing to just talk to someone, you can call the office. The phone number's on there. And someone will sit and talk to you.
Yeah. That
if you're apprehensive about National Police Week, call. Someone will talk. I mean, you can call me, 318-308-2850. I'd be happy to talk to you. That get connected. We're looking forward to every one of the new survivors to be at Police Week. We're looking forward to help them through every event. And I know that those white chairs out on that Capitol ground are going to change their life. And some people say that it's the closure. I kind of look at it as the cap. You know, you can always open that back up again. Don't close it out. Yeah. Just let it cap off. And whenever you need a piece of that, you can open it back up and you'll use it forever.
That's a great analogy.
There's good stuff out there.
That's a great analogy. Well, again, thank you for being such an inspiration to so many. I appreciate all the work that you do, and thank you for joining us on a podcast.
It's my honor. It's my honor to be here.
And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Blue View Podcast, where we talk about the issues that are so vitally important to the men and women who suit up and show up every single day and make a difference in our communities. Thank you.
Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. To get the latest from the National FOP, make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at GLFOP and on Instagram at FOP National. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.